The Salem Witch Trials by Cassie Crawford. The time period of the 1600s was all about work and their religion, which was Christianity. Not choosing to go to church was a sin. Everything was done by hand, because there wasn't electricity or any machinery that we have today. The women worked the most by having to care for the family, house, and garden. Most of the women's time went towards making 2 meals in the chores. The people of the 1600s got their protein from lobster and fish, while corn was also a very important factor in their diets. The houses were mostly made up of wood, because wood was so accessible from all of the trees. The houses were consisted of only one room, dirt floors, and a fireplace. The start of the Salem witch trials was in the spring of 1692 in Salem, Massachusetts. It all started when a group of little girls became super sick and their behaviors were way out of the ordinary. The afflicted girls then started to blame all of the issues on being possessed by witches. This scared the people of Salem, because they already believed that the devil was trying to ruin their Christianity and community. The first accused, named Tituba, a slave of Reverend Samuel Parry's, who is the father of one of the afflicted girls, confessed that she and her others worked for the devil. This confession spread fear and panic, setting off a huge hunt for everyone who was a witch. In 1648, the colonists accused and convicted Margaret Jones for confessing that she was a witch. Many people were accused of using witchcraft, and because of that, there were too many trials trying to be heard. So as a result, the court of Ora in Termina was made specifically for the witch trials. The afflicted girls were the starters of the whole witch hunt. They were becoming sick with fevers, would throw fits, hide under furniture, and contort in pain. The girls reportedly got sick after coming back from playing a fortune-telling game. Modern theorists believe the girls were suffering from either of the following: epilepsy, boredom, child abuse, mental illness, or a disease from eating fungus-infected rye. They first accused Tituba, Sarah Good, and Sarah Osborne. Except neither were convicted, but Bridget Bishop was the first to be convicted of using witchcraft. Overall, 200 men, women, and children were accused of being witches or wizards and were threats to mankind. Out of all of those who were accused, only 19 of them were hung at Salem Gallows Hill. The other victim was a man who wouldn't take a plea deal. His choice led him to become a prisoner, and they decided to torture him by piling rock boulders on top of him. Sadly, he was dead 3 days later. There were many reasons as to why certain people were considered of being witches and wizards. Due to how religious the colonists were in the 1600s, if you did not go to church, then you were accused of working for the devil. Another reason was if you were against the witch trials. For example, John Willard was a deputy in Salem and helped do arrests in the beginning of the trials, but soon quit after doubting there could be so many of them. After he quit his job, he started to protest against the idea, and because of that he was accused of witchcraft 2 times, arrested, then executed. Some other reasons were that you had birthmarks, you were a woman, and that you weren't popular or liked among the popular people. If you were married with no children, accused by the afflicted, and everything goes bad around you like spoiled milk, then you were considered a witch. There were many ways to test to see if someone was a witch, even though they were not accurate. The swimming test was where the accused would be thrown in water with weight on them, and if they float, then they are a witch. The prayer test was where the accused had to be able to read the Lord's Prayer with no mistakes like stuttering. Another one was the touch test, which is where if they touched an afflicted and they got better, then they were a witch. Another way was by making dogs eat witch cakes, which were the victim's urine, rye, and ashes. Pricking was also a way to detect a witch, was by pricking them and they don't draw blood. Going along with pricking, scratching was where victims would have scratched and attack a witch, and if they felt better, then they were attacking the witch that possessed them. The last test that they did was they made the accused say incantations and yell at the devil to leave the girls alone, and if they got better, then the accused worked for the devil. In the end, the colonists started going against the trials and hangings and saying that it was unjust, because they didn't believe so many people could be involved in witchcraft. Soon after the public turned on the trials, the Massachusetts General Court annulled guilty verdicts. The Salem witch trials officially ended in May 1693. As a result of the end of the trial, all of the remaining prisoners were freed and the victims' families were granted indemnities. 19 people were executed, including Bridget Bishop, Sarah Good, Elizabeth Howe, Susanna Martin, Rebecca Nurse, Sarah Wilders, Reverend George Burrows, Martha Carrier, John Willard, George Jacobs Sr., John Proctor, Alice Parker, Mary Parker, and Perdita, Will Modred, Margaret Scott, Samuel Ward Weller Sr., Martha Corrie, and Mary Eastie. While a man called Giles Corrie refused to take a plea deal and instead was put under boulders and squished to death.